What's up guys, Trevor Hunter here with DirtBikeTest. Today we are at the 10 Hours of Glen Helen racing this 2022 Yamaha YZ450FX. Last year we did this race and the 24-hour on the 2021 YZ450FX. So this year we're coming back with the 22, which is essentially the same platform, just some different graphics. We figured out last year what worked and what didn't work. So we're coming in this year a little more prepared, although we are racing a pretty stock machine today. For modifications, really, suspension and motor are all stock. A lot of it is mainly just for comfort items like handlebars and a seat and some grips and stuff like that, but we're going to get too crazy today. So to power the lights, we're running Baja Designs XL Pro and XL Sport. So we put a WR450F stator and flywheel in, and that gives us about 100 watts of usable power for lights, and these watts draw a total of about 66 watts. So it gives us more than enough room to power these lights all night long. For our tires, we're running a Dunlop combo. Up front, we have the MX53, which we've really come to like for races like this. It's really diverse, it works well, it lasts a long time, so that's our front tire of choice. And for the 10-hour, we're going to go with the AT81 rear tire. We haven't spent a whole lot of time on it in race conditions like this, but we think it'll last probably the whole race, and the performance will be pretty good throughout the whole race as well. Inside the tires, we have nitro mousses. We're going to keep us flat free. So up front, we have just a standard 21 by 220 nitro mousse, and then out back, we have an oversized one. We stuffed a 305 mousse and a 110 tire, so it's a little firmer, a little stiffer, but it should last the whole race, and we shouldn't have any mousse failures. For handlebars, we aren't a huge fan of the stock Yamaha handlebars, and just like the ergonomics in general. So we put a Pro Taper Evo handlebar with the Rookie Carmichael bend. It's a little lower, a little wider, and the sweep is really nice. All three of our riders are really comfortable on it, so that just helps make us a little more comfortable for the duration of the 10-hour race. And lastly, we have the IMS 2.8 gallon tank. The dry brake is necessary for a race like this with close to 8 to 10 pit stops, and gives us a little extra fuel range so we can go long on our laps if need be throughout the night. And that's it. That's about it for our bike. We're running it pretty stock for this race. We only have a couple hours on break-in on it, so we're just going to go out there and ride it and race it and hopefully go for the win. Stay tuned. right, guys, that's a wrap on the 10 hours of Glen Helen. We ended up finishing second overall to the Nick Stover Kilmartin Racing team. They were our stiffest competition going into it, and they backed it up with the win. So we're happy to come out with second place. Could have been a little bit better of a race for us, but we just struggled with the lappers and the dust and trying to get through them all once we got into the night. Nick and Tyler, they actually were stuck on a hill side by side trying to get through all the lappers together, and Nick was able to get through it a little quicker. And that was kind of the end of the race as far as us fighting for the lead anymore. But overall, it was a really good race. It was fun. Our bike worked almost flawlessly. We didn't have too many issues. We put the lights on around the 4-hour marks, around 8 o'clock at night, changed an air filter, and then we were back on our way. Probably could have changed one more air filter throughout the night, but with just how dusty and silty it was, but we didn't have a second spare, so we kind of just ran it. As you can see, it's a little dirty, but yeah, the bike didn't lose too much power and didn't run too bad those last couple hours. The biggest problem we had is towards the end of the race, our clutch cable kind of came out of the perch. Not sure what happened or why that happened, but yeah, so the last few laps we struggled with that, but it didn't really cost us any positions or anything like that. The damage already done. We were already solidly in second place, so we didn't lose. Didn't really affect us a whole lot, but it was the one issue we did have. Another small issue we did have was our front brake cable, when we first put the lights on, was kind of turning the lights on and off the first couple laps. So we had to make up the zip tie to hold it back from hitting from the light switches. Yeah, other than that, the race went pretty smooth. We changed the tire for the last 3 hours of the race. We didn't plan on that, but just with how silty it was and the steep climbs and people getting stuck everywhere, we thought it'd be best to just put the fresh meat on and try and make it a little easier for us so we don't risk getting stuck and spinning out with no knobbies. But if it was a normal race, we probably would have just ran the same tire. But yeah, we put a fresher AT81 on and we ran it. And as far as how the bike was set up and how it performed out there, it was pretty good for the suspension. We turned in the clickers, I think, to 4 or 5 clicks out on compression on the fork. The shock we left the same. We could have probably stiffened it up a couple clicks, but it wasn't too bad. Set the sag around 105 millimeters, just for the average weight of the team, and then just ran it. But yeah, the forks were a little soft, like I said, but once we stiffened it up, it worked a lot better. And then we put the lights on, and actually the bike worked really, really good with the lights and that weight on the front end. So if we could have made it a little stiffer with that, it would have been even better. But overall, the bike worked really, really good suspension-wise. For the motor, the bike's all stock. We just put some mapping in it with the GYTR power tuning app. And for the mapping, we had 2 maps on hand. We didn't have a whole lot of testing time ahead of this. So we ran what we ran at the 24-hour last year. And so in the map 1, we had the Magic map, which is it's a little more aggressive, motocrossy. And then in map 2, we have like a smoother, more torquey map. And we actually ended up running that pretty much the whole race. It's super smooth power, easy to ride, tractable. None of us really rev the bike a whole lot, which for 450 you don't need to. You know, we kind of lug it and try to be smooth with the power. And so that smoother, torquey map worked really, really good. Had tons of power the whole time, and no one ever complained about the power being too much or too little or anything. That's perfect. For the tires worked pretty good. The rear tire, although we don't think any tire really would have hooked up great out there, just how slick some of it was. The rear tire held up pretty good and worked pretty good in most of the conditions. When it was super hard pack and icy, it didn't work great, but like I said, no tire would really work stellar in those conditions. And the front tire, the MX53, that's a really solid front tire. Never really saw any major loss of performance throughout the race. Whether in the motocross tracks are hard packed, they always hooked up and tracted pretty good. So there's no complaints there. And then the nitro mousses, they lasted, didn't break down, didn't do anything like that. So we had no problems with our tires or mousses throughout the 10 hours. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, the handling of this bike, it's a little bit bigger and heavier, but even in the tighter stuff, unless it was super, super tight and technical, kind of with like quick turns and pivots, that's the only place we kind of really maybe struggled with the bike, but almost any 450 is going to struggle in that type of stuff. But you get into the faster stuff or the flowing, or even just like if it gets rough and choppy, the bike just stays so planted and so smooth and just kind of powers through everything. So it really was, especially for a bone stock bike, we couldn't have asked for anything better than how this thing performed this weekend. yeah, so that's a wrap. We'll keep riding and testing and do some more racing on this thing, and we'll hopefully see if we can find some improvements and make this bike better before the 24 hours in a couple months.